Let's drink beer. It makes my mind clear. It takes me away from here. Let's drink beer. And let's drink beer. Pump it up, lift it up, drink it up.
Everybody, welcome to the Art of Beer. And today we have a special guest. We have Dave Lokar from Heineken USA. And we're going to talk about the phenomena in Hawaii known as green bottles. So it might be a little different if you guys are from other parts of the country or other places in the world. You're like, what is green bottles? But if you're from Hawaii and you've been here, you know when someone says green bottle, you know what it means. So we're here. Dave's gonna talk us through everything, how that came to be, and we're super stoked. So what are we drinking today?
I don't know, you want to go leaded or unleaded?
My preference is always leaded.
Leaded, okay. So we're opening.
Until we run out. And then we can consider going unleaded.
So the classic green bottle. All right, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Yep.
fellas.
Okay, so this is the classic Heineken, right?
The original recipe.
The original.
recipe.
How did you get started with Heineken?
Oh, that's a long story. We're going to go back a couple years, just 2 or 3. But in 1996, the Heineken brand was actually early in the year, was May of 96. The brand was actually at Doty, which was Anheuser-Busch House. And it was, I think it was already Anheuser-Busch of Hawaii, but I think it was Doty owned and controlled at the time. Augie Bush III came into town and was going around to stores. And as he was going to these stores, he was noticing for some reason there were larger Heineken displays in these stores and key end caps than Budweiser and Bud Light, which is all he really cared about. He wanted 100% focus all the time, right. every second of every day. Right, that was his money, right? His name, yeah. And he just went ballistic and started berating people. So after a day of work in the field, he comes back to the distributor with, I assume Mr. Doty was with him and probably some of the higher ups at that particular branch. And they also had Heineken people in town that week. So normally when distributors have people in town, they line all the trucks up, right, for the particular brand that's in town to show them that, hey, this is our share of mine. So he comes around the corner into that parking lot and you see 10 Heineken trucks right up in front, and that was it. He just went bananas and just said, I'm buying this distributor, that's it, I'm gonna buy it out, you have no choice at this point, it's in the contract, just going off, right? And he probably didn't know at the time, but he's got a wagon train of attorneys to make sure it comes to fruition, right? And at the time, more money than anybody else, right, in the US probably. And he just said, that's it, we're buying it. About a month later, I think they came to terms with the cost, and I think the Doties came out well off, they just weren't put out of business. As soon as he got full control, first thing he did is kick out all the outside brands. So it was Heineken, gone right away. I think Sam Adams, I believe at the time, gone. And these were brands that were not just relatively good volume, but they were brands on the growth. They were growth brands at that time, huge growth. Yeah. So he basically took maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing at this, but 35 to 40% of his profit and said, go find a new home. And not, oh, we're gonna take money for it or anything else, just say, get out. Come grab your stuff, get your out. And so it was kind of shocking, right? These big brands that were coveted and everybody wanted them all over the nation, but because he had flipped his lid so bad, he just said basically, take it free, I don't care, go wherever you want to go. And just kind of gave off these weapons to his distributors. What was his enemy?
Right? Straight up arrogance move, right?
Yeah. So we can, you know what, I don't need any other brands to make my house bigger. This is going to be an AB house. We're only going to carry AB brands, maybe a couple of obscure small brands I think snuck in. But after that, it was pretty much just AB brands, which was the beginning of the end because he went from a 65 share down to like a 30, 35 or 33, I think now. But that was the first kink in the armor, right? And so Heineken was unsure where they wanted to go. So I think there's a couple players. I think IBC was still in the game. It may not have been. I'm trying to get it was a long time ago. But at that point in time, Heineken did come over to Paradise Beverages. And Mike Shibuya approached me I remember it was June of 96, right after they had acquired, or after they'd been kicked out in May from Anheuser-Busch. and he asked me if I wanted to be the brand manager for Heineken. And of course, I did. I said, hold on, Mike, I gotta go talk about it real quick. I gotta go think about it. Went outside, I did the jig, came running back inside. Said, how much money are you talking about, Mike? And the rest is history. So I started with the
We've got some end caps.
Yeah. So I started with the distributor in ¡96.
You went outside.
Yeah, I didn't want to give it away. We hadn't talked about money yet, so I didn't want to just do some little dance on the table and then say, he could offer me like, how about 30 grand? I'd be like, oh, come on. So, started in '96. I worked at Paradise until September of '02, and then I left for a bunch of different reasons. But about 2 years after, I came right back to Heineken. There was a non-compete clause for 2 years. So as soon as the day was that was up, I got a call from Heineken saying, "Hey, you want to come join us and be a local rep for us?" And again, I walked outside, did a little dance, and then came running back and said, "Love to." And then they gave me the stipulation. I had left Paradise, and Mike Shibuya, who is probably the person who's taught me most in business and almost like a second father to me, taught me so much that when I left, he was really hurt. So I had to get the okay from him. Heineken said, hey, you got to get the blessing from Mike if you want to come back. Even if you're working for us, you're still going to have to be working with him. We need to know that you guys are at peace. I was like, we're at peace, but I'll go up there, I'll talk to him, and he'll give you guys a call. Right on. And so I did that, and I started with Heineken in, I think, 2003, March 31st of 2003.
Cool. Well, we're going to hold that thought. We're going to come back, learn more about the history of green bottles and Heineken in Hawaii. So go grab your cold one and join us back after the break.
Bringing you what matters. Viewers can receive the Star Advertiser digital full access subscription for just $9.95 per month. Go to staradvertiser.com and click on subscribe. Use the code AHITHING.
Hey guys, welcome back to The Art of Beer. We got Dave Lokar from Heineken USA telling us more stories about the history and the lore of green bottles in Hawaii.
Okay, so when we took break, you were kind of early 2000s, and that was, how was green bottles a thing then, or was that kind of the starting point of when that culture started to build in the islands?
Okay, well, I wish it was then, but actually the culture had started when those brands did come over from AB in 1996. We all sat down. There's maybe 5 or 6 people, and I don't want to say it's one person in particular, but there was Mike Shibuya, Craig Nakatsukasa, some Heineken personnel at the time were Jay Williams, John McLaughlin, also Kevin Koss on the marketing side, and we all sat down, and myself. We all sat down and said, hey, you know what is the path for victory? Where do we see? Because at the time Steinlager was pretty huge. Where do we see us supplanting Steinlager as the #1 import, but also how do we grow and how do we match and get to, because we're considered mainstream now, right? Even though we're an import, but when we look at our competition, we look at Bud, we look at Coors, we look at Miller, we look at Corona now.
Right.
How do we get to that point? How do we make that leap? And we decided that it was to pick something that really worked for the local culture, and whether it be music or sports, but just some identifiers. And we said, whatever we do, we have to stay committed for 3 to 5 years. And no matter how the first year or two goes, even if we're not getting traction, we need to stay at it and continue to focus on that and continue to put money into it in terms of price promotions, as well as make sure we're doing the right thing and get aligned with local sports, get with local teams if possible, pro teams. And then eventually the hope was to get close to UH, but that was
a pipe dream
that
back
was a
then?
pipe dream at the time because our budget was so small, and AB was all over UH at the time for some bazillion dollars a year, which we were never in the running.
So back then, was Steinlager your kind of your competition?
Yeah, I think Steinlager was our next step. We wanted to try to mimic what they were doing.
Were they bigger than you at that point?
Yeah, in terms of volume,
Yeah.
yes. I think if you look at margin or profit, I think we're about even because their pricing was smaller and they did so much in kegs and it was a different size keg, and their pricing on kegs were so far smaller than what their pricing on bottles were. But if you looked at profit, we were pretty close. I think we were in second, but we were close. Yeah. We were in the ballpark. But in terms of volume, they were destroying us.
Well, they were like sponsoring all like the paddling clubs, and
surf,
surf and stuff like that.
A lot of outer island things.
Steinlager banners everywhere at the beach when they had regattas and things like that.
So I knew I was an uphill battle because I went to Waimea in '97 and I was playing softball in a tournament. I played a lot of softball in those days. And we're driving to like in the back roads to go to people's houses and it's really cold in Waimea. So it was like 59, 62 degrees. And you could just see the size of these houses just with 12 packs of Steinlager just lying the whole side. I'm like, whoo, we got a battle here to get that business. And it took us a while to penetrate the Waimea business, the Kona business, and there was a couple other unique areas where they had really invested a lot of time and effort. So, but Steinlager was definitely, I would say, number one in those days. And that was our goal. That was our first step, is to attack them. And then to start looking at mainstream beer. So Coors Light was pretty big and Bud Light was pretty big. So Coors Light was the next step, and then Bud Light. And then at the time, looking around, that made sense to us. So we picked sports, we picked hula dance, maybe Hawaii, anything that was Hawaiian
Heineken,
had a time.
what was that, the Hot Hawaiian Nights?
Hot Hawaiian Nights was one of those
So
programs.
you attached to music as well, people going to
Right.
concerts and music and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
if we could
So-
get a twofer, it was
Yeah.
Hawaiian and music was
Yeah.
a win-win, right? So that's where we really put a lot of our budget went into those types of things. So Hot Hawaiian Nights,
And by
we
the
did
time
Battle
the
of the
Kings started
Bands.
getting into Mai Tais, it was full blast.
Yeah. It was almost out of control. It was, at that point, it was get out of the way.
Did you guys ever anticipate or even have that mindset of like, oh, like, was Green Bottle ever like a marketing term, or that just kind of happened organically within the culture here, where people started talking about green bottles?
I think we heard it, growing up, we heard it from time to time.
Yeah.
And I don't think we understood, I should say, understand the concept. I was only 17 or 19 years old, but when I was about 22 to 25, that's when it really became, Green Bottle was more masculine, was more local. Although we have no breweries here, it was considered local for some reason, right? Yeah, it was like in your veins type thing, right? And I think it grew from there, but it was just murmurs of it when we were, I don't know how old you guys are, but I was maybe 17, 19. I heard it, but I didn't recognize it or didn't understand beer enough. But the 22
Real quick,
to
we gotta take a
27
break.
Yep.
Let's come back and talk about more green bottles in Hawaii with Dave Lokar from Heineken USA.
Get your house in order. Visit hificu.com and download the Ho'okele Guidebook today.
We're back on The Art of Beer with Dave Lokar from Heineken USA. Let's get into it.
So you were just talking about sort of that growth factor where you guys had started getting into music, kind of early 2005, 2006.
97, 98.
Yeah.
So we started doing the music, the Hawaiian, the local culture. And the first year we were down, I think we're down like 1%. But we were coming off a -6 year. So we felt, although we're down, we're seeing progress. And next year we're up 2%. So it's like, hey, you know what? We're not killing it, but we're doing better. Then the next year was 5%. And then so 98 was like 8%, then it was 12%, and it just kept growing.
It
and
just keep going,
until
right?
02, and 02 went up to maybe like 22, 23%. We're like, well, where does this stop? And we were doing price increases along the way because everything got more expensive every year. So, but it never inhibited our growth. We continued to grow at a torrid pace based on that. And then Heineken Light came in, and we thought, hey, you know what? Heineken Light's gonna help us a little, but God, where do we go from here? Is it going to be able to, are we going to keep that 20% growth? And it became a halo effect.
I feel like Heineken Light can help us.
Yeah.
It can definitely help work.
It helped me think about, it helped me remember what happened.
So was Heineken Light, for reference for the market, like was there other like light beers that you guys are going towards, or?
Amstel Light.
Pass it around.
Yeah.
So Amstel Light was actually the original Heineken Light. Mr. Heineken.
Cheers.
Cheers.
But he always wanted. Let me take a sip first. Mr. Heineken, where the brewery was, the original brewery. So if you've been to Amsterdam, you've gone to the brewery. That's the original brewery. They had the horses down, the hay drops and everything, and you're still visiting it now. But his favorite bar was right down the road from there, and he would go in there. But the way it works in Amsterdam is all these locations are brewery owned. So if they own the lease and they rent it to you, but you better sell their beer.
Yeah.
So that his favorite bar was owned by the Amstel Brewery. So he couldn't get a Heineken in his favorite bar, and it pissed him off. It was a great hotel. It was right on the corner of one of the main streets in Amsterdam. So he just said, you know what, that's it. Said, that's it. This is the last day I'm ever coming to this place without having a Heineken ever again. Went into the office next morning, decided he's just going to buy the Amstel Brewery. He's not going to buy that location. He's going to buy the whole brewery. Bought the whole brewery, and then then over steps, then Amstel Light came alive just for the U.S. market. And Amstel Light was our legitimate light for 3 decades, something there. And then I guess time and marketing finally got to the point. So he never wanted a line extension. One of the things is he asked his daughter not to do, as long as he was alive, there's not going to be any line extensions. So I think it was a few years after he passed away, his daughter decided to do Heineken Light. And It's had limited success across the nation, and it's only in the U.S. market, but it's had huge success here because it hit us at the right time with this Heineken green bottle growth we were talking about. Brought light into the market, and a lot of people won't drink the Heineken because they felt it was too hoppy or too strong. But they had another option that was less hoppy and much lighter beer, which is exactly what the Hawaii market is: heavy domestic, heavy light, right? So it hit us at the perfect time, and we weren't just seeing increases on this every year. I mean, the first year I think we did out like 180,000. And we started seeing 30% growth on Heineken Light, as well as keeping the growth on Heineken. So,
And you're saying 180,000 cases?
yeah, just Heineken Light alone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Heineken was almost at 1 million at that time. And we continued to grow for a while. It was, at that point, we were like, just get out of the way. Just make sure that we can get the product in. Let's not screw anything up. Let's not change any marketing efforts. Let's not change anything what we're doing. Just, you don't want to get in the way of that stone as it's rolling downhill, right?
It is a testament to Hawaii, and just like you've put the time and the money behind music and paddling and things that people care about.
Understanding the culture.
As they're coming up, and then it's part of that, that cycle.
Yeah, I think all popular brands globally, nationally, whatever, have like Nike, for example. They find something that works and they just stay at it. And obviously, I'm not comparing us to Nike by no means, but you find what's working and you just continue to do that. You add parts that work, but you don't make wholesale changes. You tweak it up. You tweak this in here. I mean, recently we did UH because we've been after it for a long time, but we just constantly are working on how do we get better? How do we do things better? And that goes for the beer side as well as the marketing side too, right?
You also hit it on with the association of good vibes. I mean, you go to a sports event and you're having a great time and you're drinking a Heineken. You go to this concert, Hawaiian music, and you're having a best night and you're drinking a Heineken. Like, you just package them together.
Because then when you go home and you're cruising with the boys or everything in the garage, what are you grabbing?
Exactly.
And then it was always like, so like, if someone came with a Heineken 12-pack, they're like, oh, he went out of his way to get something special. Because I remember like at that time it was like, oh, whoever bought the Heineken was like,
yeah. Well, I mean,
that was a man.
As a young man drinking, like what I could afford and what I wanted were two different things.
Monday through Thursday beers.
But on
Friday, Saturday beer.
night,
Friday, Saturday beer.
And everybody got excited. And that's what it was.
I don't know if you guys remember, but we also did that global, that national launch of the Weasel, all the other guys, the man, the guy bringing the Heineken was the man at the bird. And so you had that thing where nobody was bringing Heineken. I mean, nobody was bringing any domestics to the family party or the block party. They were bringing Heineken.
We're going to want to hear more about that and about bringing it to the family parties, because that's all near and dear to us. We're going to take a quick break, grab another beer. We'll be right back.
Homeworld, locally owned and quality brands. Let us help you create your perfect home. Beachside Roofing, the leaders.
all right, hopefully you got a cold one. We're back with the Art of Beer with Dave Lokar from Heineken USA, and we're talking about the green bottle phenomenon in Hawaii. So I think we left off, we were talking about Heineken Light, its huge growth, where it's gone. Where are we now in today? Like our green bottle is still the thing in Hawaii? Like, how is that? Where's the progression gone?
Well, I mean, I think a lot more beer companies started putting it in green bottles, so it just due to default, it's growing. But if you look at the original green bottles, I mean, there's a small amount of them. I mean, some people consider Steinlager or Heineken green bottles. Some people consider the whole import European thing green bottle. So, but it's still growing.
Like we have a few right there, right?
Yeah,
like
we
that
have-
are,
Yeah,
For decoration.
they're good imitations right there. But it's still.
Only the Heinekens are open.
It's still growing. The brands are still strong. They're still growing. And I'm speaking for these two, but I know the other green bottles are doing good. I think in general, imports have grown nationally for the last 22 years. I think locally they've gone up for the last 11 years, and including all the imports. And the Mexicans specifically are, and we have a few green bottles in the Mexican category with Dos Equis too. So I mean, it depends where you call that. Is it legit green bottles, or is it what Hawaii considers, what the locals consider green bottles? So everybody is going to have a different idea. But in any way you frame it, I think the growth has continued to be there, and I think it's overtaking the domestics at this point. The whole import green bottle type thing. It'd be interesting to actually go sub-segment on that and see how much it's really grown, because I know the domestics in general have declined the last 10 years. And at some point in time, you wonder why you walk into a store, you see a grocery end cap of domestics, which they're not making much money on because it's discounted.
Right.
And then you see imports, like 8 imports squashed into an end cap when it's probably 3 times the profit of the domestics. When do the domestics go away and you don't see them, you just see them in the chill, right? I think that those days are coming because you have seltzers, you have local brews, you have craft brews, and you have imports, and they all would, profitability-wise, would be better than selling domestics. But for some reason, the industry and I think supermarkets are so stubborn to give up that go-to. I think it's the draw, right? The draw of domestics and the basket rings.
Loss
maybe.
leaders almost, right?
Yeah, but the basket rings of Heineken is by far still number one in the state. I think last time I looked at it, it's like $82.09. If somebody who buys a 12 pack of Heineken, they're usually spending $82.09 a visit.
Wow.
Which is phenomenal, right? Because you're buying your poke,
everything
you're
else,
buying a couple of ribeyes, you're buying Heineken.
Well, talking about snacks that go with beer, we need to get into some snacks too. So we're gonna get back to our 7-Eleven exclusive snacks. Because James, where's the fish?
So, when you mentioned something super interesting. So, the patriarch of Heineken, at one point when he was alive, said like, no, we only do Heineken. We don't do any, like you said, brand extensions, and that basically means like Heineken Light or other like types of Heineken, right? It's always just one beer. They only made one beer for
Since 1864,
right?
Yeah.
So they've progressed because now it's like, you got Heineken Zero.
Yeah.
And how, I mean, there's NAs and how far has Heineken from the brand at least? They own other companies, but how far has it ventured across, and how has that changed in the market?
Yeah, I think so. I think you either, the global statement is you evolve or die, right? In a lot of cases, and I think the beer industry is much the same. And as stubborn as you want to be and stay focused and stay traditional, which we have been probably more than any other brewery, but we've also looked at the opportunity cost or loss of opportunity if you stay so stringent with your blinders on and you just go that path. So then Heineken Light came out, and then a few years after that, we were aligned with Mexican breweries, so we took the Dos Equis and Tecate lines. Newcastle a few years after that. Most recently, Lagunitas. We have a brewing. I don't know what percent it is and who owns what or who's the actual owners, but now Lagunitas is involved. So I think if you really want to survive the way everything has consolidated, distributor-wise as well as supplier-wise, things have consolidated so much. So you have a few breweries controlling the world, and you have to continue to grow, or you're going to get left out in the cold. So I think it's happened all over, and I think it's because of the global setting. But it stayed the same way locally too, right? You're fighting for shelf space. You're trying to put things on the shelf that are going to sell. Some breweries actually just put stuff on the shelf that's just going to take space, which is the ones that you don't want to try, right? So I think there's a fine line, right? Careful. You want to do limited line extensions that make sense, but not just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Stay true to the brand. Because this is a brand that's over 100 years old, right?
Yeah. Stay true to who you are, the ingredients, the local, the ingredients, and there's only 3 in here. 4, but then yeast comes back out after.
Right.
But you're gonna stay true to who you are. If you have something that's great, look, honestly, Heineken was just a really good microbrew at one time. It was too successful to continue to be a microbrew. If you look at it, all the successful beers were that, right?
Carlsberg, all of them, right? They were all small at one point.
They all start off small.
Yeah, those are the best microbrews that stood through time, space. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to continue on the YouTube channel, so please go check us out there. Follow us on Instagram. Cheers, and come back and join us on YouTube.
Hey guys, welcome to the extended edition. We welcome you the guys from the cable. We got Dave Lokar from Heineken USA. We're talking green bottles, the quintessential Hawaii beer episode. I can't believe it's taken us this long to get to it. So.
Yep, awesome. Yeah. It's what's crazy is, I don't know, is green bottle a term that's used anywhere else? So if I walk into a bar in Chicago, I don't know, I'm just picking a city, and I go, can I get a green bottle? Like if you walk into a bar in Hawaii, for most bartenders who are aware of the culture, you say, oh, can I get a green bottle?
They're going to ask you light or regular.
Yeah. Anywhere else in the world, does that exist?
I've worked with a lot of counterparts in our company, globally as well as nationally, and when I say green bottle, it's like I'm speaking a different language. So I would be
so nuts.
I would be shocked if it was a big thing anywhere else. I'm not saying that it wouldn't exist in a pocket maybe in the Caribbean or
not widespread like it is across all the islands here.
We've used it in our presentations before when we're talking about our business in the green bottle. Growth or whatever, and nobody's ever everybody's always alarmed or shocked at, what's the green bottle, and they have to explain the history all over again. And if you want to see that, you got to go back and watch it again, the TV show that we just did, because it explains all of that.
We're not fucking going back. We're here. We're staying here.
But yeah, I've never seen it anywhere else. I've never heard of it.
It is interesting too, because in the rest of the, at least talking about the market, the number one import in the rest of the every other state in the U.S. is Corona.
Yeah.
Because they're showing that clear bottle with a lime on the beach, and it's like, well, we have the beach.
Yeah,
Like, you can't sell us the beach. Our beach is better than that beach anyway. So
You're right. It's interesting, and that's been a big issue with Corona and their distributor. I've heard rumors. I've never been in the room, obviously, because they don't invite me to their board meetings. But I've heard that's the
you should try bringing
issue.
green bottles.
Yeah. I said, you guys need a delivery? But 49 of the 50 states, yeah, and some of those states it's not even close. It's 4 or 5 times the volume we do. So we're the great holdout, and they've thrown unbelievable amounts of money against us, and we have a controlled budget. Our budget is our budget based on what we sell here locally, and it doesn't get bigger even if we're up. It'll go up a little or down a little depending on the global environment and how we're doing as a company. But I mean, they've been throwing 2-3 times the amount and going after. I mean, it's almost any event we have, and we're really selective about the events we do and what we sponsor. Almost everything we do, whether it be, I won't say any names, whether it be one supplier or another supplier, there's 3 other suppliers, they're always coming in to offer more money.
Yeah.
But you know what, it's about having a partner, and this is a lot about Hawaii too. It speaks volumes about Hawaii people. You find a partner, you work together to make something special. Once it gets special, do you really want to double your money up on the people that you've been working with for 5 to 10 years and you've built all this great esteem and you built this thing together? You don't just quit on people, right? And I think that's one of the beautiful things about Hawaii. And the same way with the brand. The brand is growing the same way because we did the Sony Open for years, and we had a great partner there. We did Hot Hawaiian Nights that you mentioned earlier. We're doing UH football, but we did the Hawaii Bowl previous to that. We did the Diamond Head Classic. We did the Makah Suns concert series for a few years. So anything we've done, we've always marked it for at least 5 years when we're doing it and give it a real chance and make sure, and it's really important that everybody in that equation has to do good. We can't have us selling more beer, the band making money, and the production company lose money. Everybody has to
Everybody
get
has to win.
Everybody has to be a win-win.
Yeah.
And I think, it's a testament to that to make sure everybody gets something out of it. It's created that loyalty to the brand. And I was thinking, like we mentioned, Heineken Zero, So under normal circumstances in a bar, people walk in and say, what's your non-alcoholic, right? And then they'll just drink whatever it is. But when it comes to non-alcoholic, Heineken drinkers come in and ask, do you have Heineken Zero? It's not just I don't drink anymore, but I like beer. What do you have that's non-alcoholic? These guys drank Heineken, and that's their brand, and they come in and they want that specific. So it's still, even with not drinking alcohol, there's a brand loyalty there, and they're all about it.
One of probably the few brands in Hawaii, if you come in there, ordered a bunch of poo-poos, and you're sitting there, you order your Heinekens, they're like, oh, sorry, we don't carry that. The whole table probably going to get up and move to another location. It's pretty rare. I'm sure there's other examples of other beers in other areas, but really I've seen it happen, and it's amazing, and it's good to know that. And just so I'm really clear, it's about 7 to 15 people have worked on the brand over the years, and they all get the same amount of credit. Just because I'm here talking doesn't mean I did anymore. All it means is I was a witness to it, right? And I can remember, and I can share.
Team, man.
Right?
It takes a village.
Yeah.
We know.
And it really has been.
I'm super curious though, because when I was, in high school in that 96, 97 period, Heineken, I always remember the commercials nationally, right? They were promoting Heineken as the New Year's Eve beer, right? Like it was a guy in a suit, and he was bringing the good stuff to the party, right? And it was that, oh wow. And I think Stella borrowed that marketing a couple years later, right? Where Stella, all of a sudden Stella was like, oh, now if you want to be the man and the life of the party, you bring that. But you guys, when you guys started to figure out the local marketing, you almost went counter against that, where you went like, instead of being like the guy in the tuxedo, you guys are like, no, this is like the garage beer. This is the one, like, you want to be the man to the garage, to the carport. You guys took a very different approach.
Yeah,
why?
I think that was that's a great call out, and yeah, I think we looked at it the same way, but we also know that we looked at it and we said, hey, in Hawaii, we never know if we're going to see this group of friends or drink with these guys again. So every occasion, every garage door, every block party, or every Connie Capilla or every catch a game, the UH game at somebody's house. That was a special occasion. So we just said,
UH games at home was a Heineken thing. No, that's absolutely on the mark. I mean, that was you watching sports at home with your friends. You didn't go get your light beers. It was Heineken. That was a thing.
But you only have, I mean, you have 2 days a week where you have free time because we work so much and because the cost of living is so high, everything's expensive. So those 2 days, you might as well make it a special occasion, and why not? You're good enough to have that, and we also drove the pricing down on 12 packs and 18 packs, and with this bridge buy tactics at the time, which really helped our growth, is that we're able to give you something close to that price. We really wanted to drive that index down to make sure that if you had a choice of Bud Light 18 pack or Heineken 12 pack, that price is right in the range, right? And yeah, 6 less bottles, but in theory, just as valuable, right? The value driven, right?
I mean, it was a different, like someone showed up, we were talking, like someone showed up with the 12 pack of Heineken versus the 18 pack of Bud Light. Like the person who showed up with the 12 pack of Heineken was like, yeah.
Okay, and talking about that, let's get into it. We're on the YouTube channel. Heineken parties, Heineken sponsored events have this reputation for going off. Give us something, Dave. We got to hear it. I know you got one. Give it to us, man.
I can neither confirm nor deny that we do things a little different, and I think it starts with the planning and knowing that I think we do a little more because we realize that every event we're living up to our last event, right? So we did an event with the green once, and it was just off the Richter scales. We did a little. We did a small little, in Kaka'aka area, there's a warehouse, and we just said, we're just gonna do 1,000 people. And put the green up, and we only did social media, and you needed to get 3 tags on people you tagged on your social media to be able to get in, and you had to show it at the door. We figured, we're not gonna have 1,000, we're probably having maybe 500. We had like a line of 1,000 people out the door, down the road, after we had the 4,000 in there, and it was just off the hook. And so we're always looking for creative and new ways to introduce the party atmosphere, not introduce Heineken, because all of them are Heineken fans, but we always try to do something different and tweak it up a little bit or do something special. Or sometimes we'll do something with giving away football tickets or a suite. So we're actually doing one next year where we're trying to figure out how to give a suite to local people who have never experienced a suite, but we want everybody to feel what it's like to be that special occasion or take it up a notch, right? First, not all of us can fly first class. You know what? This is what it's like this one time. Let's share what we can do and share with locals the specialness of certain things and certain types. And we tried to do that same thing with our promotions. We currently have one at Merry Monarch with our SIG partners, our partners with SIG clothing line, where he does this phenomenal party, much like the green parties, but. We also want to have this house party type thing that we're trying to we're trying to build where we can thank our consumers as well as retailers possibly in a house party atmosphere where you walk in the house, the green is sitting there in green jackets, shaking people's hands, maybe 50 small, intimate.
Super casual, but I mean, just that.
But just knock the socks off people when they walk in and say, oh my God, these guys are actually talking to us, they're cheersing with us, and then they do a small little gig outside, not a real big one, but something just kind of get to know them personally instead of the whole, I'm going to their concert. Yeah, but you're 500 feet away. Yeah. But this one, you're actually shaking their hands. They're handing you a beer when you walk through their door. I mean, does it get better than that? Yeah. Getting the green bottle from the green.
And I think for people not from Hawaii, where it's like you say house party, it's not like this rager house party. It's more like coming over and cruising at someone's house, right? Where you're invited into the house and you're welcomed in, and it's very casual, and it's not like this gigantic rager, right? Where that's not the house party we're talking about.
You go into the house to say hi to auntie and uncle, but then you go back out to the carport after and sit down and drink with everybody.
Yeah.
It's different when you invite somebody to your house here. You're not looking for a rager where you can do anything you want. Hey, you want to show? Hey, you know what, my friends? I want you to see my home and share and meet my family. I'm bringing out. I bought some fresh ahi. I cut them up. My grandma's making a special recipe. You really want to, these are your friends. These are people you spend so much time with and you love, right? And you want to show them a good time. And it just tweaks up the intimacy. And that's what we try to kind of stay on that, how to turn ohana and friends and keep that all really tight. And we look at that when we're thinking about how we want to brand our beer, because that's really the key, right? If you keep your family and your close friends all engaged in drinking, having a great time safely as well. Right. Getting them home safely, and we do that a lot too. We do free rides home if we know it's a drinking event. We'll Uber or taxi or whatever, or bus people home. So it's a huge part.
Paradise's Christmas parties at Henry Louis did a line of cabs, took everybody home. They had 100 cabs. Everybody got into
right
one
at
and
10
said,
o'clock.
"Home."
Yeah.
You know, we advocate getting home safe. We love drinking, but we don't like drinking and driving.
Yeah.
So.
And it's non-negotiable. If you're gonna have one drop of alcohol, you're taking a taxi home in those days, and that's what we do too. Hey, if you're planning on drinking, if you're not drinking at all, you're drinking Heineken Zero. Hey, have a great time, drive wherever you want, and if you're DDing for a bunch of people, great, more power to you. But once you have a sip of alcohol, it's not worth the risk. We want your business for the rest of your life, not for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So a really important detail that a lot of brands, when you're doing promotions, you kind of forget about that because this is wild. This is such a great party. You know what? It's only a great party the next morning when everybody wakes up. They're all home safely with their families, and then they're calling each other, sharing the stories on what they did.
That's the balance between throwing a rager and making sure people have a fun, safe time. You know, like you would think about throwing a huge party and let's just fucking go off, right? And drink till sunlight, but the next day is important. Everybody needs to wake up. So
Yeah, there's a responsibility factor.
you gotta have
there.
fun, but you gotta be responsible. So that's
More and more. But yeah, it's been so. So the marketing side has been it's been fun to watch it evolve. And I'm not a marketing background person, but I've learned so much I mean, you couldn't send a marketer who has an MBA from NYU coming down here, and that person couldn't tell me how to do business here. More so, they could learn if they would, because they're too. I mean, somebody with that credential wouldn't listen to somebody like me, but they just don't get it.
he'd be the guy putting a tuxedo on, holding a Heineken Light, thinking that was gonna work.
I think that's.
He has no idea that's all based.
Yeah, I think that's a lot with a lot of. I mean, I've seen it happen in the short time I've been involved in the beer industry here. It's like you see a lot of brands come in and they don't understand the culture, and they don't understand what makes people tick, and they think what they do in, say, California or Oregon will work here, and it might, but it doesn't have the same. It doesn't resonate the same way, and I think. You know, it's like you gotta come, you gotta sit, you gotta
and learn.
It's a different geographical
Yeah.
area. It's a different culture. You gotta come in open-minded, and a
you
lot
can't
of times
just-
they come in with, we know what works because we're professionals.
Yeah, because it
And
works
there's-
everywhere else.
It works everywhere else, but we're not. everywhere else.
Everybody, and honestly, like, I go to meetings and everybody says, well, we're a little different than everybody else. And you know what? For the most part, some of them are a little different, but we are so completely different on so many different fronts that we are truly different. And if you're not going to listen to those, you shouldn't be working with us on how to build the growth of our brand, because you're just missing the point, right? And that not just for beer in Hawaii. I'm sure it's the chip side is the same thing. Soda guys probably have the same thing, and everybody in that whole supermarket supplier type industry probably understands that. And it is different here, and there's such a cross of cultures. And yeah, I didn't until recently. I didn't really realize how bad the whole race ethnicity thing is across the U.S. because I just didn't even know it.
Everybody's
we grew
mixed
up.
up
You
here.
grew up in Hawaii. You don't know the difference. You know, all your friends are all different races. So I'm like, I don't understand what the problem is. You know, I see all these protests and I'm just shocked because we never had that problem. We had every color in on our teams.
Don't understand the same thing. You and I, born and raised, but very Caucasian looking, white, and you know. But it's things you had to learn because we're not used to it. We're a different culture.
And it shocks me when I see how people do it. But
and it's not something you can just like come and stay in a hotel for a week and understand, right? Because if you're staying in a hotel, then you're not getting. And I think that's the thing. Like people might be like they still don't like understand like where this comes from. Like it's being in someone's house.
Speak to that. Talking about being in a hotel. Talk about like what is your demographic in Waikiki? How much less Heineken do you sell in Waikiki as opposed to the rest everywhere else in the state?
That's a great question.
I mean,
so people would assume that we have the same growth and or sales in all the different areas respectively, but it's different, and how we spend money is different.
It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, so in Waikiki we would probably have the same market share as we have across the 49 states, the other 49 states, because we're basically importing those people and they're drinking the same thing, but probably a little less because most of them are probably drinking Blue Hawaiis, margaritas, all the blended different concoctions that they have in Waikiki. So because of that, that's what they're drinking. So for me, and then I've had a lot of arguments with different people, whether in the brewery or distributor or other outsiders looking in, that we need to spend more to get more business. And my point is, no, we're wasting our money there because even if we do turn them, They're going back home and
They're going
drinking
back
our
home.
brand there. So why am I spending budget here to help somebody else in their market? And the same with the military too, if you look at it too. Kind of similar, right?
It's not your target audience.
It's not my target audience, but we do some because we have them for 2-3 years sometimes. And so we don't not spend there, but if there's a better way to spend it locally, we spend it locally because you look at it, we're in the areas where it counts. We're really, so Waianae was strong, mighty strong, Nanakuna was strong, Waipahu, Kapolei. I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out, but where the local population is, that's where we're strong. That's when those stores are buying 4 or 5 pallets on a weekend for Memorial Day, which is coming up in 2 or 3 months or something. But it's just one of those things where you saw, and if you look at it by zip, so I did a zip analysis one time, and it was just, you could really see the local population where our market share just fires up, and you see where it's kind of mixed between like Hawaii Kai, where you have some Caucasians and some mixed things. It's not as strong, but then the browner you get, the more green you get.
You probably sell more in Ka'ava than you do in Hawaii Kai, right?
Yeah.
I mean, with a quarter of the population, you probably crush it, yeah. And I get it. I mean, it's crazy, but it's
amazing. And you just gotta, I mean, nobody knows, right? You just live and you learn and you notice things and you start, oh, that's a good, I never thought about that. And you just tweak it a little more, right? So it's been a fun ride though. I mean, a lot of people have been working on it and it's been so fun. We've been able to go to great things and see some phenomenal stuff and meet great people. I mean, and had some great ideas on commercials. Every time I go into a bar, I hear another idea of a great commercial, and all of them are awesome. And I wanted to copyright some of them and make it my own, but can't do that. But
well, the ride is always part of the fun, right?
Definitely. Right on.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Dave.
See you guys next time.